On down, down. Welcome to the news. Stay to the end to find out how we get there. So we're ultimately referring to the connection between statistical analysis around the world and vehicles to try to accomplish goals. Yeah, stay to the end. Okay, so no, we're just going to try to just connect them, because in essence, like, on the one hand, we're talking about a fictitious platform where in essence, like, from every single country, every single day, there's either like a feed that you can read and get artificial intelligence random statistics from every single country all the time, or like a Twitter that corresponds to just random statistics, more or less. Like, people from around the world are constantly trying to focus on asset statistics. In other words, statistics that help other people to learn about other things, like countries, niches, communities, towns, ideas, concepts that are based in data that correspond to interesting data that people thought about, that they posted about, that they made connections to, based on this website, based on this platform, based on artificial intelligence, being able to combine and collect and collaborate also to be able to just, enhance or embellish on those things, or emphasize is what I guess I meant, to exemplify certain elements of statistics, certain data that corresponds to just a global configuration of global connectivity, of global viability to create new constructs for future focus of inspiration and thought. Because after all, there's very little data on a day-to-day basis in life that just happens to pass by your eyes in terms of people and existence and other countries that they get a glimpse of or a glimmer of at all in life these days. Whereas if you had like artificial and they could be artificial AI glasses, but I meant AR, augmented reality glasses, and you had these statistics from around the world just flashing in front of your face all day long, like a ticker of random statistics, and you see the list, the title of the list and what it corresponds to, and then how you can basically connect that with your own mindset of what's interesting around the world. And this is just blatant statistics from all over the world, every single country, from this kid in this country, from this person, this, uncle or aunt in this country, like just blasting random data that corresponds to asset information, because it corresponds to other people knowing more about a place. It corresponds to just a list that has to do with interesting fetching features that corresponds to learning about the world, like literally learning in real time about the world by having flashing statistics that also speaks directly and dynamically to potential in the public stock and asset markets, as well as the private asset markets, which is even more so related to these statistics, because in essence, they're everywhere around the world, like anything that's not in the public markets is the private market. So that's a way huger realm for information and data to flow through, and to be able to learn about it creates opportunity in the private markets just by aggregation of data, indications, things that like indicatively reveal opportunity or conceptual holes in demand, or speak to conceptual open holes in general to start a business, to have an attempt to solve problems in a specific direction, because there's data that's being reported on the ground, in the field, by different people that corresponds to just interesting way that statistics can stack next to each other. And this really should elaborately be in front of everybody's eyeballs all around the world all the time, on a random basis, on a random consistent basis, to be able to, similar to like OME TV.TV, which is like you can talk to random people around the world. But if you get random people's statistics, you don't want them to be manipulated, so that way people can be held accountable to them. But it just creates a world where data and statistics are a language. It's like a literal thing, and they can translate across all languages to be able to just speak to the global asset market potential, and speak to the world in terms of potential, in terms of conceptualizing any given new elements of unfolding existing experiential data that is just in real time worth acknowledging, because it's there, and just having it and configured is a way to share in the world collectively and make new friends based on statistics being significantly, thoroughly, widely valuable, just to immerse in a new way in a different part of the world at all given times, as opposed to just tweets with certain people that you follow, like random people all the time, to literally configure a random element of social media where you go on a random journey that's not necessarily even outlined or catered to a specific pathway that is etched out by followers, people that you follow, but it's meant to be random. It's meant to be a rabbit hole. It's meant to take you on a journey of experiential statistics in a certain specific avenue and direction of thought, because there's just not enough of that in the world, period, to be able to bring random data to your eyeballs that just relates to real-time, configurable, immersive statistics that are, in-depth or surface level, one way or another, that just can speak to like really unique and peculiar artifacts that are just lists to give you incentive and inspiration to look in new directions all over every single country in the world, as opposed to being insular and focused on internal communities. That kind of is a diversion from the rest of the world existing in many instances. And it's just kind of a problem, in my opinion, because there's so much happening at all given times, and contextually to feel the waves in the air of life, I feel like can contextually be felt like brushing, the waves or the strings of a carpet in terms of the world, in terms of world data, by having world statistical data being thrown at you, and in the form of lists that are healthy asset lists, not problem lists, but positive lists. It all has to relate to positive in essence. So it's kind of like good news statistics, if you will. Nonetheless, I'll transition to the second part of this, which probably would have been better to begin with, which is vehicles, connecting with vehicles, conceptualizing with vehicles as ways to get to goals, accomplishing goals. So having the right people, having the right process. Every person in the world is their own vehicle in general, just getting through time, moving through time. But in terms of moving to goals, developing a vehicle makes a unique construct out of every single person, their experience, their journey, their eyeballs, to be able to try to reach a goal. That's why mentors are something that's uniquely interesting, or paying somebody who's a consultant to try to drive to the result is in essence very valuable in just terms of trying to reach some sort of avenue that ends in the destination that you would like it to, because in essence that's the ambition in mind. That's why people will pay a lot of money for these things. But nonetheless, vehicles themselves are a combination of, if you pay a consultant, yourself times the consultant, and it creates the unique chemistry that's within yourself, and then combined with the collaboration to then try to get to a specific result. And this is a vehicle. It's you and then the consultant trying to then get to the result. And I say the consultant because that's the fast track to get to a result per se. Whereas if you're not using a specific consultant, a specific tour guide, a specific person to get to a specific outcome that is guided by a tour guide, then it's very much a murky avenue. And you're basically like trying to drive yourself. It's like building a car and driving yourself. If it's a hefty enough goal, if it's a business, for example, to try to get to cash flow, sometimes it really depends. But I mean, in general, the idea of a vehicle in general is best suited by not necessarily by acknowledging that a vehicle is something that's very custom to what somebody wants to do to get somewhere or whatever. And the bottom line is vehicles are very much custom items for every single person to get to a goal. It's like, yes, a body is a goal, is a vehicle for a person in life, but it's different. The vehicle is different when it's about getting to a goal. The vehicle becomes a combination of the environment. The vehicle becomes a combination of the elements of chemistry, of nature, of evolving science that corresponds to between a combination of actual chemistry and then the ideation of a combination of statistics, flowing with probabilities, flowing with the conceptualization of potential occurring based upon data, and data conceptualizing being a conceptual wave that you're conceptually riding to try to get to an outcome based on probability, and flowing within those guidelines and those realms just by yourself, if it is a one-person game, to get to the outcome. And that vehicle, that if you reach the destination, it becomes its own custom vehicle based on all these elements combining together and everybody in the world has like a custom vehicle in that respect. So it's just kind of, it's unique to outline that concept, because in essence you really have to refine. It's like, for example, there's cars, right? But there's only like 10 different car companies, whereas these vehicles to get to goals are like endless. They're like millions of vehicles, or thousands, or many thousands, or million, or whatever, multiple hundred thousands. It depends how you look at it. But that's the point of this little podcast, is talking about the number of potential vehicles, because possibilities are sort of endless, and like finding different tools to strap onto the vehicle is constantly evolving, and it's based on time, energy, quantum mechanics, meaning the potential and possibilities of what's going on and such things, and what vessels you choose, what tools at the timing that you find them come together. And these things combined with statistics, combined with probabilities, combined with the essence of using or having enough tools to be able to reach a certain destination. And the vehicle is always constantly evolving as you're trying to move one step at a time in the direction of a goal, of an end result. So these unique vehicles are separate from the vehicle of a body of a human, of, you know, an encasement of a body of a human, but they're vehicles moving towards goals. And these are constantly evolving, interesting vehicles that you're basically building as you move through time. And it's just interesting to acknowledge this, that these vehicles are evolving this way. And so therefore, having statistics everywhere helps to guide the concept, helps to guide the process and the construct, by being mindful of statistics on a consistent basis at all given times from all given angles, because it helps to just refine and fine-tune, staying in line with avenues of flow to, you know, sort of reach goals, if you will. But nonetheless, the opposite is like, if you have a consultant and you have a destination in mind, the consultant is also like not only the person that builds the car for you, but they also drive the car for you. So they build it, they build a custom vehicle for you because you're different than them. So they build a custom vehicle. That's what's unique about the consultant. And then that custom vehicle is also being driven by the consultants conceptually too, which is why it's validated to spend a lot of money sometimes on those people and that avenue of focus. Because in essence, like, even if they just gave you a vehicle, they gave you a roadmap, you would still have to drive the car necessarily. And that's difficult, like, to navigate a lot of unknown elements and things of this nature. And all those unknown elements speak to the nature of these hundreds of thousands of potential vehicles that I'm actually referring to, because you are making the vehicle as you go on the path to try to get to conceptual potential goals. So I'm not necessarily indicating that you should necessarily connect with a consultant per se all the time, but I think I am actually saying that without saying it, to be quite honest, because that's what is a more efficient way to try to move, you know, to certain elements of focus in time, because, you know, it just kind of stops having to deal with all the other elements of engineering and crafting some kind of outcome. And it's not always that easy, so sometimes you have to go your own way and go alone. But, you know, it's two-sided, because it's more adventurous if you don't have somebody guiding you and such things and showing you the avenues, because a lot of people like to build their own cars and their own mechanics. But otherwise, it's wise to like be able to try to make vehicles with people and try to become a people person, because they say your network is your net worth. And it's just kind of that simple. It's like building the car and then having somebody drive you there also is the difference between having people and not having people. So that's also the incentive in conclusion, to combine data and people with each other to try to develop the greatest potential outcome and result in terms of asset outcomes, and therefore connecting and combining and collaborating in every human in the world to focus on ourselves as all connected assets to be able to make the global philanthropy energy grid, and thereby also in connection to the global good deeds economy, because they're sort of connected through generating philanthropy energy and combining good deeds to, in essence, join together our best interests for one another, based on the principle that the outcome is most effective to try to lead and have the best interests of ourselves in mind, with and for ourselves, through these connections of random data that we really want to indicate through that indicates inspiration for us all to experience. And combining that with the essence of building our goal vehicles, because these are very uniquely custom in the world, and we all really can just, you know, give each other so much in terms of also connecting artificial intelligence as guides as well, And also artificial intelligence does symbolize everybody getting their own consultants and guides in conclusion of this little podcast as well. So you don't necessarily have to be alone as a result, based on artificial intelligence. And oftentimes artificial intelligence is a lot more well-suited, engineering minded, and able to be a lot more efficient after all than paying high value consultants and such things at the end of the day. So, you know, it's also a mention to try to acknowledge some resolve in the sort of connection of AI being like hopefully a highly valuable connection, sort of, you know, fallback resolve to getting more sort of fruitfulness from our connection with this resource of AI and such as the consultants. Anyway, went a little annoyingly long today. It's because I wasn't playing music at the same time, but that's all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. Bye, peace, bye. And let's all remember to push for world peace every single day. Let's all remember to push for world peace every single day. Let's push for world peace every single day. And also, let's remember to try to clear the animal shelters. Let's clear all the animal shelters in the world. Let's clear all the animal shelters in the world, because we can foster all the shelter animals. We can adopt all the shelter animals in the world. We can rescue all the shelter animals in the world. And we can also hire the shelter animals as healers. We can also hire the shelter animals as healers all throughout the world, so that they don't have to be mistreated in animal shelters. And we can clear the animal shelters, and we can hire the shelter animals as healers throughout our communities. Hire the shelter animals as healers throughout our communities, because they also work for free, and they could use better purpose and use better jobs and be able to add value and be therapeutic energy for humans and humanity, to help us be more harmonious as humans and among humanity for all the animals in the world, to clear all the animal shelters, to try to get them to transition their energy in terms of therapeutic energy to all humans, so we can clear the animal shelters to add value to humanity in terms of harmony if possible. And let's push for world peace every single day and clear the animal shelters every day. That's all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. Bye. Peace. Bye.